Thomas the Tank Engine and Friend, Take and Play Adventure, Episode 9, Haunted James. That night, while James and Gordon and Emily were at Tim's shed getting ready some rest here, they heard the owl. James was cross. He blew his whistle back. Suddenly, he saw Percy coming by. James was cross. Why is the owls making the sound? Cross James. Because the owl is up at night. Yeah, but the owl needs to turn off the sound, said James quietly. Indeed, said Gordon, chuckily. The owl could play a prank on you, said Gordon. And James was cross. He didn't like it at all. Then he fell asleep, while Gordon, Emily, and Percy were laughing. Then that afternoon, while James was at Knapford Station, Sir Topham Hatt arrived with Spencer. Sir Topham Hatt came out and talked to James. Sir Topham Hatt said, "James, I have a job for you for tonight." "What?" cried James. "Why?" "You're going to pull some freight trains to the Misty Island." "Why?" "Because I'm giving you something to do," said Sir Topham Hatt. "Let Spencer do it. He's fast enough," cried James. "You'll do what I told you to," said Sir Topham Hatt. And Spencer had a grin at James. James was cross. He puffed away. Thomas and Percy laughed, including Spencer. That night, while James was puffing out from Vickerstown eastward, he met up with Doug, Edward, Henry, and Toby. Doug, Edward, Henry, and Toby were laughing at James. Doug said, "Take care. Be careful, Misty Island, or else the ghost and the owl will haunt you." "Yeah," said Henry, "tell me about it." James was cross. He didn't like that at all. He puffed away and he blew steam at them. James said, "I'm not wasting time dealing with jokes with you," said James. James was making up a lost time. He was puffing very fast to Misty Island. His driver said, "I hope we'll be safe," said James' driver. When James arrived at Misty Island, James stopped for a second. James looked around and see at Misty Island. James think the Misty Island is quiet. It was abandoned. James saw the house. James saw the house light was on. James blew a whistle, said, "Hello, hello," shouted James. "If anyone's there." Then suddenly the light turned off. James was scared. "Oh no, I must puff back," cried James. "I'm scared." And then he puffed back very backward. Well, James had his eyes open at Knapford Station when he got done falling asleep. And then Emily was there, including Sir Topham Hatt. Sir Topham Hatt was cross at James. "Well, James, I saw this morning that the freight cars weren't delivered and put out in Misty Island. Did you do it last night?" said Sir Topham Hatt. "No," said James. "Why not?" said Sir Topham Hatt. "Because I saw the guy in the house shut off his light," said James quietly. "Well, I want you to do it again tonight, and I hope it better be done, or else you'll be sent away," said Sir Topham Hatt. "Yes, sir," said James sadly, and he puffed away. Emily laughed, including Thomas and Percy and Spencer. That night, while James puffed to the station, he saw the freight trains was waiting for him. James was cross. He aggressively bumped the trucks real hard. James was cross. I'll show you, said James. angrily. Then James heard the owl. Ooh! James was scared, and James heard a whistle while Edward thundered by with Annie and Clarabelle. All the trucks said, "Oh look, James is spooked." The trucks laughed, and James said, "Be quiet, I'm not scared." But he was. James was at Misty Island. He was pushing freight cars to the hill. James was cross. He was making up a lost time. There was trouble. James couldn't see ahead, and there was trouble. He pushed the truck right off the rail and almost crashed. The truck flew on the ground. Luckily, "It can't be happening," cried James. Oh. Poor James. He was stuck on the buffer. He was afraid he's going to fall off. "Oh no," cried James. "This can't be happening," cried James. That midnight, Edward came to help James to get on the rails. Edward was kind to James. James saw Edward. James said, "Edward, thank you for helping me." "No problem," said Edward. "I came here to rescue because Sir Thomas has sent me to." So Edward got James on the rail, and both went back to Knapford Station. And that morning, while James and Edward arrived to Knapford Station, they saw everyone there. James saw Doug, Emily, Spencer, and Gordon, Toby, Thomas, Henry, and Percy, Winston, and Bertie. The guy from the Misty Island came out and saw Sir Topham Hatt. Sir Topham Hatt said, "Are you the station master?" Sir Topham Hatt, "Yes, I live in the Misty Island." And the station master came up to James, and the station master said, "James, that was you the other night that you blew the whistle and I turned off the light?" "Yes," said James. "Oh, that was you," said the station master. "Why you blew the whistle?" said the station master. "Because I was scared the other night," said James. "I'm afraid there was a ghost and an owl around Misty Island." "Don't worry," said the station master. "There's no ghost in it. An owl will haunt you." "Not at all. I'm here to Misty Island." And James smiled at all. He knew not to be scared again.